So good afternoon, and I think we have a very cozy audience, so which is understandable post lunch. So I was just joking. Sorry, I'll just move this up. So I was just joking with the organizers that typically the so-called brick and mortar guys like us don't get really called to the leading edge sort of sessions on D2C or the other items that are getting discussed. But I think that Indian retailer has been very kind to call me the second time. And I think more than me giving any gyan, which I don't have any, okay, I look forward to more interacting with people and getting some ideas for our FMCG business. Because I was going through friends through the agenda for the last 2 days, and I found it very interesting. And I would urge that it's a very cozy audience, so maybe there can be some interaction so that we can learn from each other. But anyway, so I'll get started without much ado. So I represent ITC Foods based in Bangalore, and I look after one of the segments of that business. And I'll mention that obviously, the topic which the organizers have kindly given me today, which is unified commerce, is a bit difficult for FMCG player because we don't have the retail front end. If I look at it, unified commerce, there are case studies of Nike or let's say other brands which have, or Apple, for example, which have right from a digital to a storefront to fulfill the entire consumer journey, and then be very, very uniform in terms of, let's say, consumer experience. But in a small way, while we are a predominantly retail organization in the sense that our personal care or our foods brands may be retailed by 1.6 million outlets, which we visit every week, for example. But the problem, which typically you all know as industry players, is that these retailers are not automated. So they don't have a billing software. Most of the trading to buy a packet of milk under Ashirwad or a atta of Ashirwad or a bingo snack or a Sunfeast biscuit is happening on cash. So to that extent, while as marketeers, we would like to control, even as FMCG marketeers, we would like to control the complete consumer experience, right from manufacturing in our factories to where it is getting sold. The reality is that beyond merchandising in your shops, those 1.5 million outlets, or having your stock available, putting some posters, you have very little control on how your product is getting experienced. And that is the holy grail. However, I'm very happy to share that in the last 4-5 years, post-COVID, ITC also has tried to learn some tricks from people like you here. So, for example, in the height of COVID, when people were wanting basic commodities, essentials, staples, like atta or biscuits or whatever, we started ITC e-store, which is there, I think, across multiple cities now, so that the entire width of ITC brands can be made available, including the new launches, which typically won't get distributed so easily across the length and breadth of this country. Number two, we have recently started a food tech business. So we have 3 brands under ITC in Bangalore, now in Chennai also. There is a ITC Ashirwad Soul Creations, which is pure homemade food delivered to you in a DTC format, food tech, on all the platforms. Then there is ITC Sunfeast Baked Creations, which are very sumptuous bakery items that are there. The third one is thanks to our culinary heritage of ITC hotels and our chefs, which we are very proud of. I'm sure you all sort of experienced our chefs and their Indian cuisine expertise. So we also have a ITC Master Chef, which is more like gourmet Indian meals. So that has helped us to get into the D2C or food tech space and really understand and learn, from industry on how to excel in that space. How you look at every rating of every meal, of every dal or every roti in every outlet, and you try to improve it the next day so that you get a better rating on Swiggy or Zomato, for example. The third venture that we have done, which is which is the oldest actually, is the Fabel chocolate boutiques. I don't know if you've tried our Fabel chocolates, but they are probably one of the best chocolates in the world. We feel very proud of that. And they are getting incubated in our hotels. So we have Fabel boutiques in our hotels where you can experience a chocolate, or you can also have a chocolate, let's say, some special products being made out of chocolates, for example. So those are the 3 things. However, coming back now to the topic under discussion, when I was trying to understand the difference between, let's say, what traditionally we've all spoken about for many years, omni-channel, right? And most of the brands today in the consumer space have gone omni-channel. Today, you have even, let's say, Aditya Birla Group doing a wonderful job, I would say, of doing 1,000 crores business of their B2B products in construction through a B2C site. To me, that was really amazing. Last week only they announced that their cement business or something, Ultratech, has done 1,000 crores of B2B e-commerce. Now that is really amazing because that's typically a very different industry in terms of getting the consumer or the person who's buying the cement to actually come on board. So coming back, omni-channel, as we understand, or as I understand, is basically about having a seamless customer experience on your brands across your physical or your digital infrastructure. But really, when you look at unified commerce, and please pardon me if I am sort of giving some basics, but that's what I understood, is basically about going a level further into unifying your entire databases, your systems, your processes, so that you have one view of the consumer. Typically, otherwise, you may be running a physical outlets, you may be running a e-commerce venture, but the databases are very separate, and the consumer may experience the brand journey, the pricing, the assortment very, very differently. So now, obviously, there are many, many benefits that may come, even from FMCG, because I mentioned to you that typically as a brand manager for Ashirwad or for any brand in FMCG, you give up control after the product is made from the factory and gone to the outlets. After that, the only control you have is you may do a digital campaign, you may run a TV campaign, and hope that there is a connection between the person who's seen your TVC and gone to the outlet. Most often there is a connection, most often 30%, as you know, as marketers, 25 to 30% as per the research of the purchase decision to change a brand in the category is happening at the point of sale. You say, I want to buy a packet of juice, but there are 2 or 3 brands, which is what Spont awareness is all about, right? Which we measure. Okay, ye 3 brand अच्छे हैं, but you go there, you find one new offering, you find that brand having a promotion, the retailer pushing that brand, so you change the decision. And that is where I think that unified commerce can come in very useful if FMCG, like D2C guys or let's say retailers, are able to solve for the let's say the last mile connect. So clearly, what are the benefits? The benefits clearly from my perspective are real-time insights, because there is something called, in traditional FMCG for 50 years, Unilever has taught us that there's something called consumer insight. Great. Consumer insight is very, very important to craft your mixes, to craft your product, to craft your communication. But today we are discovering, with the rise of omni-channel, modern trade, even for a company like us, we are the largest packaged food company in the country today, but even for a company like us, which sells 5 rupee ka biscuit, 10 rupee ka noodle, right? That is our basic products. Even for us, 50-55% of our sales in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore are actually e-commerce, modern trade, and quick commerce. That is how the consumer is shifting. And that gives us a lot of opportunity to actually get real-time insights. A consumer is buying a pack of 6 coconut water of my brand on e-commerce. Why is the consumer then buying a pack of 1 in a South Bombay or a South Delhi in a retail shop? So those insights can probably be leveraged. That's just one idea. Second thing is consistent consumer experience. Typically, you would have heard of channel conflicts. I don't know how many have experienced it, but the biggest problem in every boardroom, in every FMCG company right now is that the cost of operations of a modern trade or a quick commerce, and you know what the cost of a quick commerce are very, very high. And as a manufacturer, you have to give extra pricing to the quick commerce or the modern trade guys. And that creates a lot of inter-channel conflict, as you can imagine. Today, hopefully, we will continue to be a brick and mortar distribution system. But the reality is that a retailer in South Delhi, South Bombay, or Bangalore is under huge pressure because of the coming of modern trade. However, I'm not saying that modern trade is bad or quick commerce is bad. I'm just saying that we have to find a meeting ground so that the customer gets a uniform experience. Now, that may be enabled by different things, for example, assortment, but there are many options that are there. Obviously, there are many challenges. I will talk about our journey, for example, but I think data integration is a huge challenge. Often you have legacy systems in terms of SAP, in terms of billing systems, in terms of master's maintenance, and that becomes a huge challenge in terms of giving a consistent experience to your consumers across your various touch points. Plus the fact that in FMCG you don't have control over the ultimate person who's making the most important transaction in your entire value chain, because there are three interactions, right? That as a manufacturer of FMCG I can give to my consumer. One is the product, it has to be world class, the packaging has to be world class. Number two is my advertising. But number three is actually the point of purchase, which is actually in somebody else's hand. Whatever I do, ITC e-store will not be more than 5% of my business, because it has to be like 2 million outlets, where the urban and rural India goes. So I think that is where the real challenge is. So database, I think data integration, change management is the other one that is there. I was going through some literature before I came here, and obviously, the classic case study of this is Nike, because Nike runs their own stores like they do in India, and they're able to give a very, very seamless back and forth integration between the consumer searching for a Nike shoe for running on the app at home, going to the store, talking to the Nike guy, scanning the shoe or whatever, and then buying it online. So that is one level of integration. But let me share some practical example of how we are experiencing it, because that will sort of bring it closer to home for me. So basically, as I mentioned, that the meaning of unified commerce is very, very different to someone like an FMCG player, be it in foods or be it in personal care or HPC, because ultimately you don't have complete control of your front end where the transaction is happening. So you have to find your own solutions to make the maximum out of it and give the best consumer experience. Now, traditionally FMCG, all of us are students of marketing, has basically been through this thing that you create a mass product, you create a basis consumer insight, you do your consumer product testing, and then you go and distribute in 1 million outlets, and you create advertising and you create demand. That's the traditional journey. But with the two things have happened in the last few years, I guess. One is that categories have got segmented. Okay, earlier there was only a Parle-G. There was only a Fair and Lovely, which I used to handle many years back. There was only one thing which used to be 50% of the market. Today, thanks to a lot of players in D2C segment coming in, new manufacturers coming in, capital being easily available for FMCG manufacturers, distribution being easily available thanks to e-commerce or modern trade, because listing is much easier today than it was to go to 1 million outlets. We are finding that categories are getting segmented. So a biscuit category has 20 sub-segments. Even a juices category, beverages category, there used to be cola and juice, and a milkshake, there are 40 subcategories getting created. So once that happens, you need to appeal to the various subcategories, and you need to also then make targeted communication offerings for that sub-segment. Number three, we are finding that consumer data and digital marketing has become very important. All of us have seen data that 40-50% or the majority of spend today is actually happening on digital, because all of us are on the mobile. I entered the room and obviously all of us were on the mobile. You are at your dining table in the night. If you are married, your wife is on the mobile, your kids are on the mobile, right? So that's the reality. So we have to also then look at digital marketing. And the big problem today that we are citing is that basically third-party data is getting very, very difficult and you all know what is happening. So how do you get first-party data? So these are the sort of things that one is grappling with. I'll give you an example to bring live the customer experience that we are trying to create under one of our brands called Ashirvad. I do hope that some of you are users of our Ashirvad Atta brand. So basically, we are trying to again segment the Atta category, because consumers are evolving, health needs are evolving in foods, people are becoming very, very aware, and people want more evolved experiences or products, even in so-called basic staples like atta or let's say even a salt, for example, which we also sell. So in atta, the way we go about it is a very practical example. So we make certain archetypes of consumers. So let's say one archetype we have created is a so-called placeholder called Meera. Now Meera is 34 years old, lives in Bangalore, is employed and is digitally savvy. Now the way we take the consumer through the entire journey using the various tools that we have within the marketing ecosystem is that we serve an ad through, let's say, a third-party app. Let's say there may be a YouTube, there may be any other media that Meera is consuming, and she sees that she's discovering the brand in the first place. Now that's a top of the funnel spend that is going from the brand budget. If she clicks it, she likes it, Meera is redirected to a website of Ashirvad, where she can learn about content. We also try to do some value exchange. Let me explain what I mean by value exchange. We have seen that if you want first party data, unless there's a value exchange, consumers today, because of data privacy, all the pesky calls you all get, consumers don't want to share the data. So typically you go into an outlet, they will ask your mobile number for a coffee. You will say, why do I want to give a mobile number, for example? So value exchange here is, for example, a nutrition advice, for example, is a value exchange that we are giving to Mira. A few days later, Mira has still not bought anything from Ashirvad. So Mira is then nudged for more information, more content is served to her through a dynamic personalization. Because I mean, you figure out that what are the things that she likes or she searches. And of course, then comes an e-commerce invitation intervention onto ITC e-store. Now, there it is very important that if we give Mira and 10 people different archetypes, the same product is going to fall flat. If I'm going to sell a 5 kg MP wheat atta to Mira, that's the end of it, because she can go and buy it in the next store, right? So for example, hence what we've done in the metros is we've launched something called Namma Chakki. Now what is Namma Chakki? If you are in Bangalore, you can go to our app, you can go to even Swiggy, I think now, and you can actually order a customized, freshly ground packet of atta to meet your requirement. Because traditionally, when you used to atta, you used to take wheat to the neighborhood, whatever, chakki wala, and you say कि इसमें थोड़ा सा ये भी डाल दो, इसके अंदर थोड़ा सा गेहूं के साथ में, please put some dal also, it's nutritious for my family, etc., etc. So the same experience now, when people are coming to Bangalore as a young couple or getting married here, who the hell knows where the chakki wala? Nobody even knows where the chakki wala is anymore. You don't see them, right? Near your houses, even in Delhi. So if we are able to give a customized blend, some 20 blends, delivered within 2 days, freshly ground, to the consumer. And that completes the journey in a manner of speaking. Now, obviously, there are many building blocks to this sort of an experience, which I would not say is a true unified commerce. I would say, as a FMCG player, it's more of a pseudo or a half the job done, because we haven't solved for the retail part of it. But I think the biggest barrier that we have seen is that we reach out to many consumers, right? As a large food company or a Levers as a large HPC company would be having crores of consumers, but they don't have the data of the consumer. So the biggest challenge for us when we started the journey, very honestly, around 6 years back or 7 years back, was to get all the consumer data into one place. And see, consumer data can come in various places. We go and sell our products. We go and do activations, means we go to a mela, we go to a mall, you go to home sampling of your products. Number 3 is through e-commerce transactions. But the challenge, as you know, in India is that you may have many consumer data points, but they are not harmonious. They are entered wrongly. Somebody enters a 8-digit mobile number, somebody enters a 11-digit mobile number. So it took us 2 years to just clean the data, because we knew that we don't want all 10 fields, but you at least need 4 fields, you at least need 3 fields. So that itself took us a number of years to do that. So today, after a lot of partnerships with some people who are probably here also, I met some of them, we have a customer data hub, which I think has around 4 crores or 5 crore consumers, which we think we have basic fields to basically retarget them, to serve them our communication. So what we do is that, let's say if Ashirvad or Bingo or Sunfeast is running a campaign. Now, obviously, a marketing campaign is meant to not only appeal to your current set of consumers, but also get new consumers. That's the typical, that's the latest marketing theory, that most of the growth of a brand comes not from repeat consumers, right? It comes from new consumers coming into your brand fold, penetration increase, aided by distribution penetration increase. So what we have mandated in ITC Foods at least is that at least 10% of your marketing budget in a digital campaign should go into your current database. So that and we have seen campaign after campaign for the last 2 to 3 years that our success rates in terms of, let's say, conversion rates, in terms of cost of conversion is much lower there. Success is much higher because these are consumers who have liked your brand, have interacted with your brand, be it a packet of biscuit or a packet of atta, and they are more prone to, or they are more, let's say, prone to like your offering once again. So that is the first thing that we have done. However, the reality is that you may have, and the second thing we do is that we do lookalikes. So you do a sample campaign, for example, amongst your own consumer data hub of, let's say, Ashirwad multigrain user. And if it does well, then you go to Facebook, you go to YouTube, and say, let me do a lookalike campaign. And we have seen that while the database is small, if we are able to get the proof of principle, the lookalikes also make more sense, because then you are able to get better results incrementally versus a completely blind or a completely, let's say, random sort of a deployment of your media monies. So I spoke about consumer data hub. I think the second part is the creative part of it. Of course, there is no doubt that for marketeers, especially the young marketeers, digital media is a huge relief, because traditionally in FMCG companies like us, if you have to make a TVC, and we are an Indian company, right? We don't have a US headquarter where you have to send every TVC for clearance. But digital communication. The great thing is that you can actually make communication very fast. Number two, you can do moment marketing, and I will not talk about the recent moment marketing disasters that have happened in the last 1 week. But basically, so for example, in ITC, we have set up something called Sixth Sense. So what is Sixth Sense? We have one Sixth Sense center in Bangalore, and we have one in Calcutta, where basically we do moment marketing, we capture the latest trends, social media listening happens, so on and so forth. And due to that, we are able to also catch with the latest trend and position our products there. But the problem we have still is that content generation becomes a drag. So you may do some basic moment marketing ki Virat Kohli ne sixer maar diya, and you may clap from a brand perspective, but that's just brand placement. It's not really creating content which will make you like my brand. I have to give a context to why you should like my brand. This is my insight. And that is where the real challenge is, because typically making content for digital campaigns, for retargeting, etc., takes a few days. So that's something we are trying to solve. Some companies have, like Godrej has recently appointed, they've set up an in-house agency. But there are many schools of thought on how you can sort of do that. So the one big change we are doing in a consumer data hub is moving from the consumer data hub into a more active system, where we get not only one way, we don't not only pick up the data of the consumer from the consumer data hub and we retarget them, or we feed them new campaigns or new offerings, but we also make it live, so that we can also feedback the loop that what is the consumer liked, so that we can actually increase the level of engagement we have with the existing consumers. Obviously, you have to keep in mind, or we have to keep in mind, the entire privacy concerns. We have to also keep in mind the sort of ad frauds that can be committed, that you've all heard about. So I would say that there are many platforms that we have used. Recently, we have started executing an Adobe platform, because we think that integrates the many parts of a system like ITC, foods, whatever, very well. But I would say that it is still something that all of us are trying to learn. And the only thing that we have learned in the last few years, it is better to fail fast in a new arena, rather than keep waiting for the perfect solution, because we may have changed our consumer data hub platforms twice already in the last 5-6 years, and obviously these are very expensive, time consuming investments that you need to do. But it's better to do something, learn something along with partners. And partners come in very important, because today, as we see outside here, there are many partners who are there who have experience across industries and across the world. So I think that is the other part that I would say. Of course, I think we learn a lot from companies which are into the D2C space, because those are the real people who are trying to do leading edge stuff. So that's all what I wanted to share about ITC's journey for the FMCG business. I'll be happy to take questions, because I think that will make it more interesting. Any questions, any thoughts? Yeah, sure, go ahead. Is there a mic for him? Do you guys have a mic? Huh.
Sanjay.
Yes, sir. Gentleman there on the left. Madam? Yeah. She can't see. There's a light on her face. Hanji.
Uh, Sir, so you spoke about challenges with respect to expanding into
Can you bring the
direct-to-consumer.
mic closer?
Yeah, you spoke about challenges with respect to direct to consumer for a company like ITC. Have you tried to also solve the problem of the last mile connectivity? Uh, Typically, your distribution network would end at the first point of sale, which is to the stockist or the distributor. Beyond that, there is, the actual touch points with the consumer are at the kirana stores and the panwalas. So, uh, if when we say, let's say, ITC does crack the grail of direct to consumer, you will have to answer to the delivery aspect as well. How do you leverage an existing ecosystem so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel with respect to that?
So see, firstly, we don't want to become a D2C company because obviously the sort of scale that an atta or a biscuit requires will not be viable, right, economically, because everything is economics now. Ultimately, supply chain economics hai. The cheapest, the cheapest way to reach a few million consumers every month is basically the Kirana network, right? So you don't want to substitute that. However, you want to give the consumer an experience. So it will have to be a hybrid solution. As I mentioned, that maybe one hybrid is the e-commerce, quick commerce. It may be some evolved offerings, because while a 5 kg atta or a 10 rupee, let us say, biscuit of Sunfeast may not require it, but a healthy biscuit from Sunfeast, or let's say a healthy snack may require that sort of a solution. So I don't think that we will ever replace our current system. I think it always has to be horses for courses, whether it be brands like Fabel I mentioned, like Food Tech I mentioned, or within brand also, Surface may always have a mass offering, which will have to go to 2 million outlets every week. But there may be a class offering for an urban consumer who's more health centric, let's say a digestive biscuit, let's say high protein biscuit, for example, which may require a solution like that. So I don't think there is any one solution for a FMCG player. And we have seen that, right? Even Horlicks, they may have one solution for 10 rupees sachet, but they have a different solution for a Horlicks Plus. So that's what I thought. Go ahead, I can hear you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's a good thought. I mean, we also do a lot of D2C, but as I said, it has to be for the right offering. You can't afford to sell a 5 rupee biscuit or a 10 rupee noodle of Yippee and hope to do a DTC on that. I met somebody outside, he said the minimum D2C bill has to be 1000 rupees to make it viable, 800 rupees. So that's where I was coming from.
Hello, sir. Hi.
Right.
My question is, I've seen HUL of the world or Godrej of the world doing D2C, like Hamara Shop they did, which was putting their whole assortment in D2C front. But as a shopper, when someone is looking for a D2C, it is looking for a solution for a problem. If he has to buy a whole grocery for a month, a basket building, he might go to a selection of Amazon or a big basket of the world. But I see a ITC store which has all the offering that you guys sell, all your brands. Do you see the merit of the top line coming from that? Yes, one is the first party data that you get about the consumer on the D2C center. But apart from that, is it also one of the objective to get incremental top line from D2C, or it's just about the data and understanding the consumer behavior?
So my dear friend, this is a question that we debate every year when the ITC story is presented to us, and you hit the nail exactly on the head. Now, see, as I mentioned, sometimes things evolve here. Business is always about evolution. ITC store started because the moment that lockdown happened in March 20, all our FMCG sales stopped, and consumers started contacting us saying that I can't buy atta, I can't buy whatever salt. It started like that. And but you're right that I mean we can't run two horses, right? In the one hand, you need 1.5 million retailers. Other hand, and we have very good partnerships, which we're very proud of, with all the e-commerce guys, right? We're the biggest brands on some of the e-commerce guys. So the intention, we are very clear that ITC e-store will never be a revenue driver. However, just like any other good manufacturer who is blessed with, let's say, 150, 200 marketeers, like a Unilever or a ITC, we also have good marketing teams who churn out consumer insight-based innovations. So last year, for example, in food itself, we must have brought out around 80 to 100 innovations across the 7, 8 categories, 11, 12 categories we operate in. Now, if you walk into the next Kirana store, even if you walk into the next Reliance store outside this hotel, you will not even find 50% of those new launches in those shops. So these ITC store becomes a good vehicle for us to promote our new offerings, to make them try our new products, and that is aided with the retargeting of our consumer data hub. So that is one way we look at it. You would have seen that P&G globally does a very nice website, which is all about sampling. Now they do it for Olay, they do it for SK2. No, maybe not for their food products. In any case, P&G is more of a, so that's the way it is. But we are very clear, you're right, that ITC store can never economically compete with even an e-commerce player. I think the objective is to showcase the range. Objective is to make consumers try our new products. So typically what we do is, let's say you make a cart of ITC store. So and there's a sufficient products available. There's the entire ITC foods, personal care, classmate, Machis Agarbatti, which is your devotional products. All the products are available. You make a cart, and then typically when you check out, you will get an offer of 1 rupee on new products. That's in a small way we are trying to sample our new products. Yeah.
We will take the next questions offline, please. We have another session.
Okay. Okay. Shit.
We have one question. There are many hands behind you. The first one. We'll pass on the mic. Can we have the mic?
I have the
He
mic
already
with
has a
me.
mic.
I have the mic with you. Thank you so much for such
Thank
a
you.
grounded and very practical narration you gave of your experience. So I read in the thing that you head the beverages and the dairy business in ITC.
Right.
So and I also run a startup in that field. We
Very
just
nice.
are getting close to a 1 crore monthly run
Very
rate
good.
on that.
Congratulations.
Right? And our idea was not on the FMCG grade. It was more on the premium grade where you're not making shelf-stable products, but you're making fresh products and you're distributing, right? And that market is close to non-existent in India because our cold chains are yet to be fully set up. Our vendors, our distributors are not geared up. And
Yes.
I know for a fact that ITC also has a vision that one day they'll be selling really premium fresh products,
Yeah.
right? And how is this going to happen? I feel that the person who is going to build an end-to-end supply chain go on a very asset-heavy model where I'm going to do the actual logistics. All the Industry 4.0 logistics is a scam until the company does it,
Sure, sure.
right? I mean, it may be a harsh statement, but it's a fact. There are so many service providers. Nobody is going to be as committed as you are going to be about your business. And you can see Milky Mist as a small brand in South India
Yeah,
doing that very successfully. How do you see that
So,
for a really strong company like
see,
ITC?
I'll tell
sir?
you, I'll give you an example very quickly of our frozen business. See, around 6 years back, we started ITC MasterChef, which is a frozen products like French fries and kebabs. So we had the same problem. But we have seen for ice creams, for example, we have seen for frozen products, today quick commerce has come as a big boon to the cold chain problem. Because suddenly you find that thanks to the dark stores that a Swiggy or a Blinkit runs, you don't need to do anything. Because they have set up very, very efficient, professionally run thing. And you would have seen an article day before yesterday that new age ice cream brands. I would urge you to look at that, right? Noto, NIC. They're not investing in any freezer. They're just putting it on quick commerce, and you have a customer sitting there. So I would request you to please look at the quick commerce play, because that has come at a big boom due to the lack of cold chain end to end in India. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Nice to meet everyone.